everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're yanking out the factory drivetrain out of the Firebird to make room for the 5.3 Turbo 350 swap. So let's get started.
So the first thing I'm going to do here is drain the oil out. Curious what it looks like. It actually looks pretty clean on the dipstick, but I'm curious if there's any water in there or anything that could have, locked up the bottom end. Alright, here we go. Kind of expecting this to be like a flood of water coming out of here. A little bit of water.
So while the oil's running out of the pan, I'm also going to drain the radiator. First casualty of the night. Corner of that license plate as I loosened the drain on the radiator. I caught my head on that. Alright, so I'm just kind of starting in the front here. Radiator's draining. I took the fits on here of the rad and the AC condenser. All this has to come out just because we're going to have to stand the radiator up. We're going to have to get a different radiator, stand it up, maybe cut the support here to clearance for the turbo, and then the AC stuff's got to go. And then we're going to have to take the nose cone off the car to plumb the intercooler and mount the intercooler and all that. So we're just starting from the front, working our way back. Did pull a couple electrical connections off. That's about as far as we got. All right, so I went and pulled the airbox off. Even if this thing would turn over, it probably wouldn't have started. You need air. Air is one of the things you need for an engine to run. You do not need a nest of whatever critter made that nest. All right, so next up here, we're going to be taking the accessories off the motor, alternator, compressor, power steering, pump coils, and just cleaning this up a bit so we can get ready to pull it out. That's the wrong size. And there goes into the antifreeze. That sounds about right. Next up, the compressor. That hose is on a little bracket there, and it's making a pain in the butt to get to the compressor bolt, so we're taking this off quick. We definitely made some progress on that side of the engine, getting the alternator and compressor off. So now we're moving to this side. I'm just going to cheat and take the whole bracket off. I'm going to be taking the coil packs off so I can access the bolts behind there with the bracket and try to take it off as one unit. We're taking the throttle cable off, well, at least the cover off here. It's in the way of getting the ratchet on the coil pack bolts. Oh, need to find a dirty rag and some electrical tape. Tape myself up. Be right back. So I broke down and I went to Harbor Freight and I spent $10 and I bought fuel line tools to get the fuel lines off of here. Hey, it works. So I got the one fitting off. I can't get the other one. I don't know why I'm trying to do this the right way. I'm just cutting the line. We're not using these lines on the LS motor anyway, so let's cut this line, get this junk out of the way. I got the fuel lines tucked up out of the way. It dripped a little bit on the way out. On the floor, the fuel is definitely orange and it smells like, I don't even know what it smells like. Not fuel. I just knocked my hammer into the drain pan. Nice. So I can't get that power steering pump off. I don't know why I was so stuck in getting off. We're just gonna pull the engine out with the power steering pump on it. I'll disconnect the lines, meaning cut them, take the motor mounts out. I've got to get under the car and do the drive shaft. Right now I'm gonna finish up pulling the harness off. So the next thing we want to do is we're gonna have to get under the car and we're gonna remove the drive shaft.
So we're under the car here, and if you look at the back, you can see at the back of the drive shaft there's 2 bolts. They're 11 millimeters. You're going to want to take them out, put the car in neutral, spin the shaft around, 2 on the other side, take them out.
So we're under the car here. This is the 2-piece drive shaft. The 93 to I believe 96 6-cylinder cars had this shaft. So right there's a bolt in the center. It's a 2-piece shaft on these cars. And then if you come up top, it's hard to see, I promise you. Right there's the bolt. You can kind of see it in the center there. I'm going to take these 2 out. I think I'm going to cut the exhaust out of the way, get the exhaust out of the way just so I have more room. So I started to remove the exhaust, give myself some room. That's the bottom bolt. And the top bolt's up around top. And I can get a ratchet up around there. There has to be a proper way to do this.
Chopping exhaust is not it, but it works. So we pushed it forward in the trans. You can see the back of the shaft's out. Now we just need to slide it out of the transmission. Voila, the drive shaft is out. So the next thing we're going to do, shift cable comes down, follow it around, is held on with the trans pan bolts right there, 2 bolts there to the bracket, then it bolts up here on the side. I can feel the bolt right there, so we're going to take that off next. And also we're going to disconnect the front of the torque arm. There's a 15 millimeter up top, and then I think one here. There's 3 bolts, but I think if you take the top one, loosen this, and kind of wrestle that out of the mount or something like that. Also, if you're taking the torque arm off, make sure the back of the car is on stands and it's not weighted on the rear. I did notice this here. I don't know what this plug's for on the trans, but it obviously doesn't work, but not that matters. We're not using it. And I found some more floor pan rust, which I think is under the black mat by the firewall. All right, so I finally got some energy and some time to come out here and work on the car. Got the trans cross member off. The torque arm is off. I felt it. The easiest way to do that was lower the trans first, and you can slide the torque arm off the bolt that holds it there. I have a pan under there catching the trans fluid. Gonna have to take the hood off the car, so I drew a circle around the bolts. There's a little bit of adjustment there, and you're trying to line your hood back up. So put them in the circle, and you're good. The hood's off, and we're gonna commence with getting this motor trans out from the top. Problem number 1 coming out. The EGR is into the cal, so we're going to pop that off quick. And I think trans dipstick should clear. So I definitely cut corners pulling this out. Like, just, we're not using the motor, so it doesn't matter, but I wasn't really thinking when I did stuff, so I let the power steering on. That's hitting the ABS unit. If I can shift the engine to the passenger side, that would not be a problem. But now the pipe is hitting there on the inner fender well, so we're gonna have to, I'm gonna cut the exhaust there, cut the exhaust there. So here's where we're at. Like I said, I cut the exhaust, cut right there after the manifold. Come around this side, this was my big hang up. I took the motor mounts off the K-member and bolted them. The K-member was coming up and was caught there on the steering shaft, as you can see, as it is still caught there on the steering shaft, wedged in there. I took them out. Not my best idea, but thankfully it was on the chain and it's coming up, trans is draining. Hopefully we can get this out here tonight. This is also the time in the project where I test the tensile strength of all the wires I forgot to disconnect. So far I'm looking pretty good, but I was a little extra careful with this one. Not that I need the wiring for the engine, but try not to destroy too much sometimes. So we just flopped that all out of the way. A lot of it was already unplugged. I snipped the crank sensor wires, pulled the wiring off the trans, and we're good to go. Yeah, support a radiator, support a transmission, better support a radiator. Lights, of course, support an idiot. Don't listen to me, just watch, laugh, have fun. If you're not having fun doing this, don't do it. I almost quit like 3 times tonight, but sometimes you just gotta press on and you'll get it. I am not the world's best mechanic, not even close, but I have fun and kind of keep your eye on what you want to see out of the car, but at the same time, take it one step at a time, because it can be very overwhelming. You know, like I'm just getting the old drivetrain out of this. I need to put the new one in, need to get a turbo. It feels like there's just so much stuff to do, and you feel like you're never going to get there. So just take a little bit at a time. I'm going to turn the camera off, set this down before I run out of space on it. The camera, not the engine jack. No, we're pretty close. Lower it down. I'm peeing transmission fluid on the garage floor. That's cool. My wife will love that. If you're watching this, honey, sorry. I'll clean it up probably by the 4th of July.
All right, so as you can see, the driveline is out of the Firebird. Finally, took way longer than I thought. I was kind of complaining in the middle of the video there about taking out the top. I'm an out the top guy. I'm rear wheel drive stuff. I mean, I've pulled front wheel drives. If I'm pulling engine and trans, front wheel drive, it's probably coming out the top, just how I do stuff. Without having a lift, I mean, I'm going to put the LS in this from the bottom because I have to change the K-member anyway. But it wasn't bad. Sometimes you just have to think a little bit. I mean, I was just sort of in a hurry to get it out, even though it took me a while. But haste makes waste. If I would have thought about it and unbolted the engine mount from the block instead of the K-member, we would have cleared the steering shaft. Wouldn't have had that problem. So just little stupid things like that. But, I just kind of winged it. I didn't use a manual or anything, or everybody says out the bottom, but do whatever works best for you. But anyway, engine's out, so I'm going to tear that down here in the next day or two, do a teardown video. So that'll be coming up. I'm going to clean the bay up, probably do an ABS delete, HVAC delete on the car. It's going to be more of a race car. But, so I'll get started on that, and I think we're going to take it over to the big garage so we have some more room to do the swap and get the LS at least set in place. Anyway, thanks for tuning in as always. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Leave a comment below. I like interacting with everybody that watches. And maybe I'll see you at a drag strip on the return road, getting pushed off when I blow this up. But anyway, we're going to have fun. Later.